Network Security Testing Basics Kali Linux. Armin Shahriarian. Chapter 2. Network Security Testing Basics. Security testing is a broad term that means a lot of different things. Some of this testing will be network-based, and the goal may not necessarily be about system compromise. Instead, the testing may be more focused on impacting the service in negative ways, like causing the service to stop or be otherwise unavailable. When a service is taken offline, it's considered a security issue. Because of that, stress testing can be an important element of security testing. To perform network-based testing in which you are testing more of the networking elements than the applications, you need to understand how network protocol stacks are defined. One way of defining protocols and, more specifically, their interactions, is using the Open Systems Interconnection (OSI) model. Using the OSI model, we can break the communications into different functional elements and see clearly where different pieces of information are added to the network packets as they are being created. Additionally, you can see the interaction from system to system across the functional elements. Stress testing not only creates a lot of information for the systems and applications to handle, but also generates data the application may not expect. You can perform stress testing, and should, by deliberately breaking the rules that the application or operating system expects communications should follow. Many attacks use this rule breaking. They can cause application failures, either by getting them to shut down or by causing application exceptions that may be exploited for application or system compromise. Security testing. When many people hear the term security testing, they may think of penetration testing, where the goal is to get into systems and acquire the highest privileges possible. Security testing isn't entirely about popping boxes. In fact, you might suggest that the majority of security testing isn't penetration testing. There are just so many areas of protecting systems and software that aren't related to what would commonly be thought of as penetration testing. Before we start talking about what we can do with Kali Linux when it comes to network security testing, we should go over what SECU RIDI is so you can better understand what testing means in this context. When professionals, and certainly certification organizations, talk about security, they make reference to what is commonly known as the triad. Some will add elements, but at the core of information security are three fundamentals: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Anything that may impact one of these aspects of systems or software impacts the security of that software or system. Security testing will or should take all of those aspects into consideration and not the limited view that a penetration test may provide insight into. As you may know, the triad is generally represented as an equilateral triangle. The triangle is equilateral because all three elements are considered to have equal weight. Additionally, if any of the elements are lost, you no longer have a triangle. You can see a common representation in Figure 2:1, where all three sides are the same length. Every one of these elements is considered crucial for information to be considered reliable and trustworthy. These days, because businesses and people rely so heavily on information that is stored digitally, it's essential that information be available, be confidential when necessary, and have integrity. Figure 2:1. ECIA Triad. Most businesses run on secrets. People also have secrets, their social security number, passwords they use, tax information, medical information, and a variety of other pieces of data. Businesses need to protect their intellectual property, for one thing. They may have many trade secrets that could have negative impacts on the business if the information were to get out of the organization. Keeping this information secret, regardless of what it is confidentiality. Anytime that information can be removed from the place where it is kept safe, confidentiality has been breached. This is the primary element that has been impacted in countless thefts of data, from Target, to the Office of Personnel Management, to Equifax and Sony. When consumer information is stolen, the confidentiality of that information has been compromised. Generally, we expect that when we store something, it will be the same when we go to retrieve it. Corrupted or altered data may be caused by various factors, which may not necessarily be malicious in nature. Just because we talk about security doesn't always mean we are talking about malicious behavior. Certainly, the cases I mentioned previously were malicious. However, bad or failing memory can cause data corruption on a disk. I say this from personal experience. Similarly, failing hard drives or other storage media can cause data corruption. Of course, in some cases malicious and deliberate actions will lead to corrupted or incorrect data. When that information has been corrupted, no matter the cause, it's a failure or breach of integrity. Integrity is entirely about something being in a state you reasonably expect it to be in. Finally, let's consider availability. If I kick the plug to your computer out of the wall, likely falling to the floor and maybe hitting my head in the process, your computer will become unavailable, as long as we are talking about a desktop system and not a system with a battery. Similarly, if you have a network cable and the clip has come off such that the connector won't stay in the wall jack or in the network interface card, your system will be unavailable on the network. This may impact you, of course, and your ability to do your job, but it may also impact others if they need anything that's on your computer. Anytime there is a server failure, that's an impact to availability. If an attacker can cause a service or entire operating system to fail, even temporarily, that's an impact to availability, which can have serious ramifications to the business. It may mean consumers can't get to advertised services. It may mean a lot of expenditure in manpower and other resources to keep the services running and available, as in the case of the banks that were hit with enormous, sustained, and lengthy denial of service attacks. While the attempt at an availability failure wasn't successful, there was an impact to the business in fighting it. Testing anything related to these elements is security testing, no matter what form that testing may take. When it comes to network security testing, we may be testing service fragility, encryption strength, and other factors. What we will be looking at when we talk about network testing is a set of stress testing tools to start with. We We'll also look at other tools that are sometimes known to cause network failures. While a lot of bugs in the network stacks of operating systems were likely fixed years ago, you may sometimes run into lighter weight, fragile devices that may be attached to the network. These devices may be more susceptible to these sorts of attacks. These devices may include printers, voice-over IP phones, thermostats, refrigerators, and nearly countless other devices that are being connected, more and more, to networks. These days, network security testing. We live by the network, we die by the network. How much of your personal information is currently either stored outright or at least available by way of the Internet, often referred to as the cloud? When we live our lives expecting everything to be available and accessible by the network, it's essential that we assure that our devices are capable